Hey folks, Scott Strode here, Post Play Media, LLC, and BlueChips Global, and I just wanted to come back with a video here about the Interstate Challenge Team Shootout that we had in Morgantown this past Saturday. Just kind of a first reaction, kind of gathering my thoughts throughout the week here, and just talking to different people, getting some really good feedback. People telling me about the good, the bad. I even had somebody tell me that the prices for the gate need to be a little bit higher. But first of all, I've got to hand it to, and I've told a lot of you, I've got to hand it to my guy, Isaiah, my partner, Isaiah Francis, who really brought into this business just like 2 months ago. And he hit the ground running, wanted to do this event. And I thought this would be a good time for him to get his feet wet. And, I don't want to say sink or swim, but, he was determined he was going to do it. And I told him the constraints I had on time as far as planning for something like this. And he literally did. And folks, when I say he did 95% of the work on this event, he did 95% of the work on the event. I just can't say enough about the good things that he's done since he's jumped in there with me. So kudos to you, Isaiah, and we're going to drag him on here for a regular podcast sometime soon when things get kind of settled down for us, and we kind of figure out some logistical things with his work schedule, my work schedule, and all those things. So first, I wanted to talk about just go down through the run of we had a very, very small unsigned senior JUCO transfer event that kind of accompanied the team shootout. Kind of a neat thing. I'd never done it. I'd always wanted to do something like this. So when Isaiah proposed this, it actually kind of made a light bulb with me, and something I always wanted to do. So it was kind of neat, and it was good that we had it very small. I think we had 14 players come and participate. I was really, really pleased. The level of player that we had there was extremely good. It was just a good group of guys. I'm just going to go down through the list here real quick. Junior college transfer, 2026. College D2 transfer, JUCO player who has completed his first year of JUCO, but we'll go back. A post-grad graduate, junior college transfer, 2026, 2027. We did invite some 2027s. We did have a 2027. He competed, did a great job. Let's see. We had D3 transfer, one of the top 2027 bigs, and then we had a 2026 and a 2027. And then we had D3 transfer. So that's the level of player we had there. So there was no doubts that the guys that performed well against really high-level talent, because these guys could play. All of these guys that have been in college, you could tell it on the floor. Their maturity and the way they worked, the way they communicated on the floor, all of those things, you could tell they'd been in a program. But I'm going to go down through the list of guys that we had. Cam Dancer, 6'6" guard. He's originally from Morgantown. He is transferred from Waynesburg, and I'm not sure if he has any, but looked good. Looks like a player. Looks like he always does. Guards hard, plays hard, finishes when he gets in the paint. A big guard, a big athletic guard. So there's some colleges that probably should really take some interest in him. But anyway, let's go to my list here so I can get down to business. We did have Max Washington, who also transferred, and I'm not sure where from. I think he sat out a year, but he's coming back, wanting to come back in to the college game. He looked good, a 6'6" big. Let's see. We had... We had a 6'2" guard from Buffalo, New York, Stash Foster. Absolutely looks like a Division II guard. I think that's where he's going to end up for sure. Could play at probably any Division III school that I know of, including the ones that are in the top 25 in the country. Serious player, a kid that could, talent-wise, body-wise, could probably spend a year, maybe two, in Division II, and could even make the jump to a lower level Division I. That good. Period. That's all I got to say about him. Will Huckabone, a 6'9" forward/wing, who's at Garrett College. A really, really interesting story. He's a kid that I'm actually going to have on the podcast here sometime this month. Like I said, 6'8", 6'9"-ish, athletic, moves well, great feet, can guard people, can dunk it, can run, can jump. Shoots it pretty well when he shoots it on balance. But a kid that hasn't played organized basketball for very long. And some of that shows through, but with another year, he's going back. He's finished 1 year at Garrett College. He's going back to finish his second year there. That's going to be a really, really interesting. He's a kid that size-wise, talent-wise, is definitely an MEC player in the foreseeable future. So, Caden Slay was a kid that Beckley kid. He was last at has sat this past year out. He was last at West Virginia State. Good size guard, 6'3"-ish, athletic, strong, does everything well, guards hard, high motor. Obviously, he's an MEC player. He will have. He's probably going to get another chance to play somewhere because we had some good schools there, some Division II schools that I'm sure were interested in him by the time the day was over. But he did a lot of things good. Kason Waits from Frankfurt, 6'2" guard, really athletic kid, was playing injured, has a bummed hand, but I thought did a really good job. First time I got to see him in person. He looked the part. I mean, he's out there with a bunch of college kids. He's a 2027 in West Virginia. Plays for a smaller school. He looked the part, and that's probably the biggest compliment I could give him is he didn't look like he was out. Certainly wasn't anybody out there more athletic, more explosive. He did some good stuff against, like I said, college competition. So that was really good. Kenji Berger was a kid, let's see, from Lexington, Kentucky, that come up and performed well. Combo guard, point guard, whatever you want to call him. Gets the ball up and down the floor. Good true point guard, does point guard things with point guard skills. I like his game. Kind of a typical Kentucky kid that just knows how to play the game. And performed really well. I don't know how well he shot the ball. I can't remember that. But again, Lexington, Kentucky, that was Kenji Berger. Vay Gidney is a kid that we had in our post-grad group last year. He was there. Again, he plays the game well, plays it hard. He could make a roster somewhere for sure. I'm confident of that if he got in front of the right person. Gideon Good, a 6'8", 2027 from East Hardy, another Eastern Panhandle kid. He'll probably get offered from every Division III because they just lack bigs, and he is more than good enough to play at probably any Division III program. He's got good size, he's got good feet. He's got things to work on like any other kid does at this stage, but incoming senior, and is going to have a big year for East Hardy. Again, he's a kid that played for us in the fall session that we played in the jamborees and stuff like that, and some of a couple of the on-campus things that he did with us with the post-grad group last year as well, and performed extremely well. So looking for big things from him. Eli Patton was a kid that he came in, and I was really, really interested. I've seen Eli play in person multiple times. I've got to see him play on screen. It's really, really hard to, it's a small school he comes from, and sometimes AU is tough to judge as well. But he came in there again against everybody there was older except for the other 2027s, and he shot the ball extremely well. Does a lot of good things, guard skill wise, but he's got some things to work on again, like any other kid that's that age, and he'll work through it and get there. But he's going to be a kid that's going to get. I know there was a few schools that talked to him immediately after the event, and probably are looking forward to following up with him. So good stuff for him. Caden Parrish. Caden Parrish is a kid that came to us to the Hoop Summit last year. Absolutely blew a lot of people away with his motor and the way he plays. He did nothing short of that. He's a 2026 point guard. 5'10", 6-footish, plays hard, plays excellent defense, plays hard both ways. Could be a really good point guard in college someday. If he gets a chance, gets some development, he's got a real shot. Liked the way he played, and he impressed a lot of people on Saturday, and so that's big for him. Keon Yates, another kid from Eastern Panhandle, same school, teammate of Caden Parrish, another 2026. Listed at 6 foot. He looks taller than that to me, but I thought played really, really tough. Again, physical, aggressive on D, and did some good things getting up down the floor, making things happen. Jacob Childs was interesting. He was another Kentucky kid that came up this past Saturday. I think he's from the Louisville area. Division III kid that played at Brescia last year. Shoots the ball, might have been the best shooter there, but shoots the ball. That was between him and Eli Patton. They were two. They made probably 23s in between them over the course of the day. But anyway, I was really impressed with him. I thought he did a good job. Shooting the ball, has good guard skills. Smart kid, understands how to play. He was fun to watch. Let's see. We've got Malachi Grantham Price, another kid, 6'2"-ish. Could be a big guard if he works on the things he needs to work on guard-wise. He'd be a good-sized guard, especially at the Division III level. He could help somebody probably right away. If he could get in the gym, work on some skill things, and get shooting the ball a little bit better, he would be a great Division III guard, probably right out of the gate. So hopefully he gets a chance there. I think people should have been impressed with his athleticism, the way he get up and down the floor. I mean, how quick he is. Very fearless as far as taking the ball to the rack. Also, fearless on defense. Really sticks his nose in there. And again, nice long 6'2" frame. Strong kid. He's got a shot. He's got a legit shot to play somewhere. Seth Small Jenkins, another kid that played for us a lot. Now he's at a community college in the Pittsburgh area, CCAC. He did play with us part-time in some showcase stuff, in the JUCO showcases, JUCO prep showcases in the last fall, and as well as played his JUCO season. But I think a true point guard, I think a kid that gets it, that understands his role. He had really matured since the last time we saw him last fall. He's matured a lot, physically matured a lot, basketball-wise. I think he plays a lot smarter with the ball, understands where the ball needs to go, when it needs to go there. Really did a good job. So I'll be surprised if there's not some guys that were there. We had a nice group of Division III coaches there on hand that watched this thing entirely. So that's a rundown through there. As far as the high school teams, I'm going to flip over here real quick and look at this list. I got to tell you, folks, Capital was going to surprise some people. They were 3-0 on the day as far as the team shootout goes. I had a lot of people text and ask me how they did and what they looked like and things like that. They were good. They brought 6 kids. 5 of them are varsity. They may have brought their 5 starters even. They looked I was really impressed. One, they're athletic enough to compete at that Division III level, or that 3A level, not Division III, but 3A level. 2, they've got kids that can get to spots and score. Kasai Morgan, Joel Frazier, get to spots and score. Isaiah Scott is a long wing that shoots it pretty well. I would guess 30 to 35-ish from the wing. Shoots it pretty well. If he gets up around 40% from the wing, they are going to be really dangerous. Really dangerous. That's, they were impressive. And the other thing is they played extremely unselfish. They got the ball where it needed to go, and they got it there in a hurry. Kasai Morgan is a kid that we're going to hear more about. He's an undersized guard. He's probably 5'8", smaller than what a lot of college coaches like, but I'm telling you, he's going to have a huge year. Joel Frazier, 6'2", 6'3", guard, has every guard skill that you need at a varsity level, plays like a kid that's a junior. I mean, he does not play like a kid that's just come out of middle school. He's done the right things training wise. He looks really good. He looks like a varsity player. So he's going to have a good year. Let's see, going down the line here. Jefferson, I was really impressed with how they played. I think they lost one or two really close games, but a bunch of new faces. Three of his starters were at our Unsigned Seniors event on the other side of the court. And then a fourth one that wasn't there, and then the fifth guy, I think, I can't even remember it. But so we had, I mean, he lost 4 starters, 5 starters. I'm talking about Coach Van Meter, and but brought all those new faces in there. Brought a nice group of kids, 8 or 9 guys that were there on hand. A little more size, I think, than what they've had in the past. It looks like guys that really want to compete. It looks like guys that have enough talent. So it just looks like they're going to kind of reload and keep going. They moved the ball well. I think they competed hard on defense. They're going to be kind of a sleeper. So, look out. That's just is what it is. I'm really interested to see how they play because they have some things there in place, more of an inside presence than what they've had the last couple. Well, though they've had really since Coach Van Meter's been there. Next team, Parkersburg High School. A lot of people were really anticipating getting to watch them play. Quentin Wilson is kind of the straw that stirs the drink. Chandler Jackson is another guard who's he was just recently offered by a Division III school in Ohio. Between those two, they can do a lot of things, but then you look around and there's just not a lot of experience. There's just not a lot of size. So you end up with some things, just basketball wise, that just don't get done the way they should. They struggled. Admittedly, they struggled, but if some of the young guys can kind of get going, then who knows? And who knows? By the school year, who's going to enroll where? Incoming freshmen. There could be an incoming freshman from Lord knows who where they could be from. It could be across the river. It could be whatever. So there's some bright spots. They did struggle, but they also played. They had played 3 games the day before at Fairmont. Come there with some tired legs and competed. We had them up against Montour, PA in the first game, and then they played Jefferson, and then they had to play on tired legs. They had to play South Harrison, and they struggled, but. All's well that ends well. They got a good experience. That's a bunch of young guys that got reps against some teams that they wouldn't probably normally see. Speaking of South Harrison they had 2 starters out. Graham Sauce and Joe Finstermacher was both out. They were both on hand, but they were both out. The guys that they had competed really, really well. Was really impressed with Brendan James, a kid that transferred most recently from Bridgeport. Knew Brendan from, I think he was at our first Hoop Summit, but he is now at South Harrison. I thought did a really, really good job. He impressed me. Most of the other guys, I didn't know most of their names, but they just played hard, played with a lot of heart. They just competed what you should do at those shootouts. Cabell Midland obviously was on hand. A lot of people have tweeted and talked about Marshall Summers, who was there. Marshall put on about 15, 20 pounds of muscle since we last saw him, and he looks like a man. He looks like a Division II level player. I'll push him up to that since I'm on a roll today, and he could play at that level. I think athletically, he can play there. Size-wise, he's a solid 6'4", has the college-ready body. He didn't shoot a lot of shots from deep because he didn't have to. He got what he wanted off the bounce, and really understands how to use that bulk and that muscle really well. So I was really impressed with him. Of course, Aiden Spence on the other side of the floor, the other guard. He's 6'2"-ish. can kind of slide in and out of point guard and scoring guard. He just kind of melts into whatever needs to be and scores where everybody else isn't. He always seems to end up with easy shots. I don't know how. Some people just do that. He always ends up with, and I don't want to discount anything that he did, but what I'm saying is some guys are just always in the right place at the right time. He's just one of those guys that always ends up with a couple breakaway layups uncontested, and then he'll have a couple wide open threes that he'll knock down. And next thing you know, it's the first half and he's got 12 points. And you're like, gosh, how did this happen? And he's just that type of player, but he can play the game. And a lot of those things come from him being a high IQ basketball player. Again, legit 6'2", 6'3"-ish. Just a good-looking basketball player, a good-looking guard, has good guard skills as far as handling the ball. If he was to play point guard, he could maybe have some big value and maybe push himself to that MEC recruitment level. But we'll see. I mean, I think he's going to get some interest from that level. There was a lot of guys there that was able to see him. You're probably going to see him get offered by a ton of D3s, again, because of his size and how he scores it. So you're probably going to see that roll out pretty quick with some D3s throwing some love his way. The other guy, I can't go on without Brody Mabry, 6'6" big man for Cabell Midland. He's a stud. He's an absolute stud, and he is a man in the middle. Football player, I think, but he is. Cabell Midland has a chance. I don't want to put any pressure on those kids and Coach Woomer, but their time is probably now. And now they have Carson Christian coming back in, a 6'4" wing who jumps out of the gym and is crazy at probably like Division I athletically, like that level of kid. Coming in. He wasn't there Saturday, but he will be there in basketball season, of course. And you throw him in the mix, and you've got he and Marshall Summers, and then you've got Aiden Smith. I mean, there's some matchup issues for even 4A schools. There's some real matchup issues. So looking forward to that. That's I could talk about all those kids. All of them played really, really good basketball, but. Anyway, moving on. Mount Hope Christian Academy was there. I don't know those kids very well. I did get the roster from their coach. They did. I thought they competed really, really well. I think they were a lot better than people expected them to be. Expected this small little Christian school to come in there, but they had kids that could play, and they had kids that competed really, really hard. They were a nice addition. That was a nice pickup by. Kind of late in the game by Isaiah to grab them and get them in the mix. It's going to help those kids immensely to going forward. Let's see, who else do we have there? Lincoln County, got to meet their coaching staff. Those great people. I thought they came in and competed really, really hard. I'm not sure if they're if they're 2A or 3A, but kids that want to play. They want to play hard. There's a few kids there with some athletic ability. I think they might even been missing one of their starters, but a nice group of kids. I'm looking forward to kind of following up with them and seeing what comes of that group. They did a nice job. They really did. Let's see, who am I forgetting? Huntington, another 4A school that was there. Again, Huntington lost a lot. Most recently, they had Pearson Dejneka out he's been out all summer with injury. Now that family is moving to Florida, so they're leaving the state. He won't be back at Huntington, and then they just lost a lot of seniors. I mean, they lost, a Division I football player who was maybe the best athlete in the state. They lost a lot of guys, but. They competed hard. They had a game or two that was really close. I don't know if they won any games because we give them a pretty tough schedule being a 4A school, but they competed hard. They really did. So that's a group I think has just enough size and just enough athletes They've got two really good guards coming back, young guys that are coming back. That they've got a chance if they can continue to get better, get stronger through this offseason. They have a chance to get to be scary and be really competitive by the end of basketball season next year. And then I'll talk a little bit about just a minute. Because I really appreciate them doing this. But Cabell Midland's JV team also played. We matched them up against some of the smaller schools, South Harrison, Mount Hope Christian Academy. Got them matched up. They played. Those kids played hard. Mostly freshmen. I think they had one sophomore and 6 freshmen. Played extremely hard. They had nothing to be ashamed of when they left there. Some really good kids that are going to be, they look like your typical the 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" kids just walking around the Cabell Midland campus. That these guys are going to grow into and be good basketball. But kids that knew how to play. I was really impressed with their basketball IQ and playing against older kids from some of those smaller schools. But, as far as, let's see, what we had college-wise, what we had in attendance. Wheeling University there, Coach Jared Chambliss was there. Potomac State, Coach Jaden Foltz. Ben Long from Salem University, another Division II. Jeff Hoffman was there. Yeah, Jeff Hoffman, assistant coach at West Virginia Wesleyan. A lot of you guys probably recognize that name. He's does a lot of their social media stuff for West Virginia Wesleyan basketball on Twitter. Let's see, Bethany, Coach Shaw, and a big shout out to Coach Shaw, Brian Shaw, assistant coach at Bethany. Brian kind of took the reins of running the Unsigned senior portion, kind of keeping those guys going. I was able to help out when I could, but he did such a good job of jumping in there and really working that the way it needed to be. I was very thankful of him being there and helping out. So I told him I really owe him big because he's helped out with a couple of our events and done such a really good job. So, as well as we had 2 coaches, Corey Mitchum from Waynesburg University, as well as the other assistant coach, Zach Stevens. And the one thing I really appreciate these guys, they stayed engaged with the Unsigned Senior event. And then also we had Franciscan University's Anthony Santangelo, assistant coach up there. He was there as well. And then we also had our own post-grad coach, post-grad prep coach, Coach Ronnie Newsom was there as well. So, and he was scouting, and he found a couple guys that he's going to offer opportunities to for our group, our fall and winter groups this coming year. So, a nice group of coaches. There was 4 or 5 of them that either no-showed or couldn't come for one reason or another. But appreciate those guys being there. Also had a coach, some of you might remember, Darren Friedman, who was at Penn State University Allegheny, was the coach there. He had camps probably once a month. That's where a lot of people knew that from. He did a lot of advertising on those camps on Twitter. He is now the club basketball coach at Robert Morris, and so he was there, even looking for guys to come in and join the club program. So which added a nice little caveat to what they're doing and to what we had going on there with the Unsigned Senior portion. But all in all, great event. I couldn't be happier with it. It's we got everything done without any issues, without any logistical issues. The big shout out to Rick Hill from the Mon board of officials. It did a really good job of getting, even though he wasn't there and people were giving him some flack for it. But kudos to him for getting those people scheduled, and I thought they did a remarkable job. Even we had one team of officials who were both brand new, and they did a good job. So, and that's, we didn't hear much shouting and discontent from the crowd really throughout the entire day with as many games as we had on the floor. Not coaches arguing calls or anything like that. It was just a very well professionally officiated event. And again, my guy Isaiah did such a good job of keeping everything organized, keeping everything running, and going. I really didn't have to be hardly hands-on much at all during the day, and he just did such a good job. But I want to thank everybody that came, all the kids that competed. We do take this stuff serious. We do take the evaluation and the feedback we get from people, from college coaches that were there, all of that stuff. We take all of that very seriously, and we take it all into account when it comes time to rank, when it comes time to refer players to coaches. So again, thank you all, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.